My name is Nick Floyd. I have a long history with Magic the Gathering. I created the Dandan variant. Now I'm creating this. Welcome to Magic Storytime. After my last video, I decided to add a Magic trivia question relating to the early days of Magic in each of my episodes. I'll ask the question at the beginning of each episode and divulge the answer at the end of the video. Today's question is, Mark Rosewater, the head Magic designer since 2003, started with Wizards of the Coast in '94 by approaching their magazine editor with the idea for what regular feature for the duelist, by name or description. Stay to the end of the video for the answer. This is Episode 7, Mirage Prerelease, September 21st, 1996. The mid-1990s was a time in Magic history where things were different than they are today. Not just that we called Standard Type 2 and Vintage Type 1. Large events like Pro Tour qualifiers were held by regional or metro area tournament organizers who would rent out large venues and bring in players from large surrounding area. My first Pro Tour qualifier was held at a spacious conference room at the University of Utah. I don't remember if I attended the Alliance's pre-release in May of '96. I have no memories of such a tournament. The Alliance's pre-release may have been the event where my Rock Springs friends and I stayed at a Salt Lake area apartment of some friends of theirs, and we stayed up late the night before the tournament, playing a game of Monopoly to see who would get the couch as opposed to the floor. Why we didn't play Magic, I can't say. Or perhaps it was the event where a friend of mine splurged on a booster box of Italian Legends. Or maybe it was the trip where on the nearly 3-hour drive, someone suggested that our team name should be the Bad Boys of Bogarden. We never had a logo or t-shirts, and we weren't known by that name, but I always considered that group of Magic friends to be the Bad Boys of Bogarden. Because we were better than average Magic players, we eventually did get known as the Rock Springs guys. It helped to have a pair of identical twins as part of our group to stand out. But I can't say whether we attended the Alliance's pre-release. First pre-release I do remember playing in was held at a convention room at the Salt Palace, a famous convention center in the heart of Salt Lake City. That was the Mirage pre-release in September of 1996, and this is that story. I remember there were several tables of vendors selling Magic-related products in the convention room. I bought several long card boxes with Magic art on them, which I used for storage for many years, only recently parting with them. I also bought a hat with the Mirage logo and expansion symbol, which I still have. Pre-releases were sealed deck, of course, and this was the time of starter decks, where you got a starter and 2 boosters to build your sealed deck, adding basic lands as needed. In fact, I ordered a box of Mirage starter decks a week later. You couldn't buy product the day of pre-release, that's why they called it a pre-release. I bought a box of starters because one of my teammates told me that though they were the same price as a box of booster packs, starters got you a few more uncommons and the same amount of rares and commons. I never did check if that was true, but I can tell you opening 12 starters was a lot less fun than opening 36 booster packs. Anyway, this may have been my very first sealed deck, if I didn't attend the Alliance's pre-release. Sealed was a format I eventually became very fond of, and pretty good at. Over the years, I was fond of saying that Sealed was my favorite Magic format because it required both more luck and more skill than any other Magic format. And it always had the best, most surprising plays because you had to use the cards in unconventional ways to gain advantage with such a limited card pool. Of course, Sealed deck was a little different back then. Magic sets were in general not so formulaic as they are now, but I digress. I do remember enjoying the tournament, and Mirage Block Limited has always been my favorite limited Magic. It was well designed with 2/2 attackers with flanking in most colors, and 3/3s that could trade with them in combat. Just very nice to play with. I remember one round in particular. My opponent was a few years older than I, and he had a friend that sat with him and watched him play. This wasn't a problem, as the friend didn't say anything or aid him in any way, sitting on his side of the table, but I have to say I was a bit intimidated by the duo. But I had decided that I was still going to win through better play. I had determination. It was a great match, and I believe it went to all 3 games. I won the last game by squeaking out the last bit of damage with an instant speed Armor of Thorns when I blocked Wild Elephant to tramp over the last needed damage. It was so close, but man did I feel great when I won that match. I think it was that match that gave me the idea for the conversational style of play that I used that following January at the Visions pre-release and at future events. But that is a Magic story for another time.
To wrap up the trivia question,
The question was, Mark Rosewater, the head designer of Magic since 2003, started with Wizards of the Coast in '94 by approaching their magazine editor with the idea for what regular feature for the Duelist, by name or description. The answer is Magic the Puzzling, a monthly Magic puzzle that presented a game state and required a certain outcome to be met to solve the puzzle.
it was my favorite feature in the Duelist. Thanks for joining me for this episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. Catch you next time on Magic Storytime.